Good morning, students. Students, as we were discussing about sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and I discussed about pre-fertilization events which occurs in sexual reproduction in my previous video, especially pollination. Now today I am talking about the second event of the sexual reproduction in plants, and this is very important event. It is called as fertilization. Now students, I want to tell you that what is fertilization. Basically, fertilization is a process of fusion of male as well as female gamete. So when both two gametes are fusing together, then the process is called as fertilization. While we are talking about angiospermic plants, in case of the angiospermic plant, the fertilization which occurs is called as double fertilization. Now today I will tell you that why it is called as double fertilization. Step by step I will explain all these things. So I am mentioning once again that pollination is followed by the process of fertilization, and fertilization is fusion of male and female gametes. Now what are male gametes? Pollen grain contains male gametes, and the ovule inside the ovary contains female gamete. ठीक है. Now what happens in case of the pollination? In case of the pollination, the pollen grains are released from anther and they landed over the stigma. Now here in the diagram you are observing that two pollen grains have landed there, and after pollination, pollen germination occurs. And what is pollen germination? Pollen germination means development of a tube like structure which arises from the pollen grain. ठीक है, it is called as pollen germination. Now you are observing here a tube is going to arise from the pollen, and it passes through style to ovary. ये style से होते हुए ovary region तक पहुंच रही है, oval part तक पहुंच रही है. Are you observing? And at the base of the ovary, or on the ovary, you are observing that there is an embryo sac, and this embryo sac contains female gamete. Is it clear? Now the thing you must have to remember that what happens in the fertilization, and I am telling you that why it is called double fertilization. Now what happens during the process of the fertilization, ठीक है, when pollen tube develops and it passes from style to ovary, then pollen releases male gamete. तो pollen क्या करता है? Male gamete को release करता है. Now you must have to remember one thing. One pollen grain always contains two male gametes. One pollen grain contains two male gametes. ठीक है, तो out of these two male gametes, one male gamete fuses with the female gamete. Is it clear? Here you are observing in the diagram female germ cell, it is mentioned here. So you are observing that out of the two male gametes, one male gamete fuses with female gamete, and this process is called as syngamy, Syngamy. While there is another kind of male gamete, and the another male gamete there, because as we know that there are two male gametes, the second male gamete fuses with two polar nuclei. These fuses with the two polar nuclei of the embryo sac. Are you observing? And in between there are two polar nuclei. I am just showing you with the help of a colored pen. uh, I want to explain. Here you are observing that this is female gamete. This is called inside the ovule. This is female gamete. And here you are observing at the center. Just I have crossed it. These two are called as polar, polar nuclei. So you have observed there are two male gametes in a single pollen grain. One male gamete fuses with the female gamete, and the process is called as syngamy, while the other male gamete is going to fuse with two polar nuclei. So how many times fertilization is occurring there? Definitely two times. One is syngamy, and the another kind of fusion is, it is called as triple fusion. तो दूसरा जो fusion है इसे triple fusion कहते हैं. Now why it is called triple fusion? Because there are already two polar nuclei. पहले से two polar nuclei हैं. एक तीसरा nucleus आ रहा है किसका? Male gamete का. यानी how many nucleuses are fusing there? Three nucleuses are fusing there. That's why it is called as triple fusion. So There are two types of fertilization. One is syngamy and one is triple fusion. So the process of fertilization in flowering plant is referred as double fertilization. Now when the fertilization completes, after the completion of the fertilization, I want to tell you that the fertilized female gamete or ovule, we have to say that the fertilized ovule develops into zygote, and the zygote finally develops into embryo, and the embryo converts into seed. Is it clear? And what happens with the other parts? And the triple fusion, after triple fusion, two polar nuclei when fused with one male gamete, this is called PEN, primary endospermic nucleus, and finally it develops into endosperm. And what is the function of endosperm? Endosperm provides nourishment or nutrition to the developing embryo. Okay. And after that what happens? Sepal falls off, petal falls off, stamen falls off, and the fertilized ovule converts into seed, and the ovary converts into fruit. Is it clear? Now the fertilized ovule converts into seed covered by seed coat, and the ovary converts into fruit, and some the other floral parts start to fall off. And this seed after germination, because seed contains embryo, so after germination it develops into new plantlet. Is it clear? So I am reading it out here. All the things are very clear. After the pollen lands on the suitable stigma, it has to reach on into the female germ cell in the ovary. So the pollen tube grows out the pollen grain through the style and reaches to the ovary. And after fertilization, the zygote divides several times and becomes embryo. So this is the later on things. The ovule then develops a seed coat, okay, and gets converted into seed. The seed contains the future embryo which develops into the seedlings. Okay. Now the ovary develops and ripens into the fruit. Since the process is called double fertilization, why it is called? Because in the embryo sac, okay, the one male gamete fuses with the axle or female gamete in the process of the syngamy, while the another male gamete fuses with the two polar nuclei, and the process is called triple fusion. Is it clear? So I think the process of double fertilization or process of triple fusion, or simply I have to say that the process of fertilization in angiospermic plant is quite easier. You understood it very well. If still you are feeling any difficulty, you can ask to me. Okay, once again I will meet you in the next video. Till then, thank you, bye bye, and have a nice day.